So I have a confession. It's kind of exciting too, but I'm doing a corporate wellness gig. They've already invoice has been sent. It's happening. I don't know who they are. So this could literally be the evil empire, or it could be like, a puggle rescue. I don't know.
Right.
But
Right.
either way, I don't know. And that's called doing business for the money.
That's right. That's correct. That's correct. That is what that's for. Though, I mean, there would be something to be said for the fact that, if they are an evil empire, you are taking money from them.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Right. And then hopefully you would do good with that money.
Oh, absolutely. That's very true.
What they're doing.
Yeah. No, very true. I would take their money.
Yeah. Because people ask me all the time sometimes that they'll say, hey, how do you feel about the fact that, you've worked for this person, you do this and that. And I'm like, my goal is I take everybody that I feel comfortable taking, as I like people who are good to me. And if I feel that I can, take away my carbon footprint with them of evil, I'll just make sure I donate to things that, aren't what they would want.
Yeah. In their name. I also have like a real-time confession I think is happening right now. I just closed my office door and my dog suddenly awoken from her deep slumber. And then I remembered that there's cat food out. So goodbye to that cat food. It is now my dog's.
Yes, it
and
is.
That was a good $2, just like poof, up in smoke.
At least somebody ate it. My cats are off and I just chose not to eat that. And then I left it there. Freya has gotten to the point now where she fake eats food. So she looks at it and she pretends to eat it. And then you come back 10 minutes later and it's still sitting there.
She didn't even move it around?
No, she just fake eats it. She hunches over and then kind of puts her tongue out and pretends like she's eating. And then she punks you and she just leaves. You come back an hour or so later and you're like, now it's bad. Crap.
You're like, you should have eaten it while you had the chance. Too bad, sucker.
Yeah, she doesn't care. Food. She doesn't care even a little bit. Also, we always put topper on it and she'll sometimes lick that topper off. And she licks it all the way around and then she just leaves the food.
Dude, Freya.
She's a very special cat.
I love her. She's the cutest cat, you guys. You see her on social, but she is I have had the privilege and honor of taking care of her. And she lets me sing stupid songs to her and also doesn't eat for me.
She doesn't eat for anybody. This is how she's a princess, and this is how she's like a supermodel who only likes junk food. She can't say no. But I did have to put flea stuff on them today, so I'm now boxed out because if you put flea stuff on them, they're super mad at you.
Yeah, dude, the fleas have been super bad this year. We had full on flea explosion in our apartment.
Well, I came back to my home and I noticed I had 2 flea bites and Freya was itching a little bit. And I'm like, I'll just put flea stuff on you then just to be on the safe side. But
oh my God, wait, did I give you fleas?
Maybe. She got
sorry.
It doesn't matter. She gets so angry.
I have another confession. I gave Sybil fleas.
That goes along. I believe I've told the story here about how I had a client once.
With the kids who had fleas.
Yes, the kids who had fleas. You have to go back into the files, guys, and find that one.
Oh my God.
Awkward conversations with customers. Your kids have fleas.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
All right, we're going to get this party started. Hi, I'm Sybil Solon. I'm an esthetician and a spa owner.
And hi, I'm Alex Ellis. I'm a body nerd and wellness expert, and we are business besties.
And bosses. Running your own business, it's hard.
We're terrible employees, so we're figuring it out.
I've already figured it all out, but we promise to share everything we know about what it takes to make 6 figures and beyond.
And be brutally honest about what works and what totally sucks, because
so much of it totally sucks. Let's get started.
That is so true. Welcome back to Skinfessional. On today's show, we're asking the question, how do you value yourself and the services you sell?
And you're not alone, because even big companies have trouble doing this. So if you're sitting there and listening right now and thinking to yourself, I don't need to listen to this, you absolutely do. I don't care how big your company is.
Mm-hmm. Or even how small your company is, because I totally love realizing that these, huge corporations making bajillions of dollars, also don't have their shit figured out.
No.
And that's not to say that you have to have your shit figured out. It's just we are all on our journey and asking better questions and deeper questions and getting more closely centered and rooted to your values, like we're going to talk about today. It just makes businessing way more fun. Way more fun.
It is one of those things that when you realize, I know for me, it's a big thing when I realized that, oh, my problems that I'm like, oh my God, these are such huge problems. I don't know how to solve them. When I look at a larger company or somebody who's, doing better than me in quotes, that they have the same problems, that we are the same. And it doesn't matter like how much you scale, how much you grow, how much money you're making. We all still as business owners suffer the same things. It's just how it is. Business is hard. That's why it's in our top of our show. It's hard. The shit is hard.
And it sucks. I think also, and I'm sure many of you have had the experience as well, when you worked for perhaps a larger company or a larger spa and things were being done in a certain way that you didn't necessarily agree with. And so you left and started your own business, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we did.
Yeah.
And one of the benefits for sure of being a smaller company and, running a business either by yourself or with a smaller team is that you have the autonomy and the ability to make quick decisions, to pivot, to change, to do these things, without it being this like big laborious process.
You don't have to go to a board. You don't have to go to a board and tell them and make people understand with like lectures and, PowerPoint presentations why money should be allocated or we should change something. It is the beauty of running your own business and being your own boss is you can say, hey, myself, this is what we're doing today.
It's like I always would picture like a giant, like even bigger than a cruise ship, like that container ship that got stuck in the Suez Canal, right? That's a big corporation. And I'm like I used to be a ski-doo, is that what they're called? Or a jet ski. But now I'm like a speedboat, like a little bit bigger, but I'm still faster. And I can make quicker turns and I'm not going to get stuck in the Suez Canal, right? So it definitely has its benefits. But, we wanted to highlight this as well because if you think for a minute that large companies have it figured out, like, no, they don't. We're telling you right now from direct experience, no, they do not.
So I am currently in negotiations with a big company with my education program. And I have classes and this is what I'm doing with them. And I sit down and I have a conversation about these courses. And it comes to be very obvious that both this company doesn't value education. Like it's not important to them to the degree that I feel that it should be important because they're undervaluing what I bring to the table. And it then becomes a conversation where I'm trying to explain to them why it's important to value education, how they're using these old antiquated ideas on what they're doing. And then I sit back at one point and I think to myself, oh my God, in this arena, I've got my shit together way more than they do. And then I have just a tiny bit of schadenfreude because I'm like, oh my God, I'm kind of better than them and they're failing and I'm succeeding. But I always want the people to succeed, which is why we're talking about this right now. Because if you were sitting around thinking to yourself, I'm not worth something, I don't know what I'm worth. That's what this is about. This is about the valuation of something. How do you value it?
Yeah. And also previous guest of the show, Kim Bennett, who is a lawyer, she is on a mission, because I've been her friend, been working with her and watching her to disrupt the legal industry. And this old idea of billing by the hour, which, very, very, very entrenched for lawyers. But as you start to look around, it's probably happening in your small business as well, that you are valuing your things by how long it takes you, not your wealth of knowledge that brought you to this point.
Right. Exactly. And I know that they're doing this in tech as well. So in tech, a lot of times contractors get billed by the hour. But what happens is a tech person's like, well, but because I'm better at this job, I get it done faster.
Yep.
So, and Alex and I have talked about this when you had a VA, I believe you found this to do the same thing. Yep. So I'd rather pay somebody who's better at this job, who gets it done quicker, than to pay somebody by hour who then kind of strings it along and makes it just seem like it's longer.
Yeah.
Time is not a true test of how much something is worth.
No.
Period.
No. Also, where this conversation, I gotta talk about the granola.
Okay.
I posted on my Instagram stories this morning about this bag of granola. So when my dad was not even the first time diagnosed with cancer, but like the third time diagnosed with cancer and was facing surgery, Sybil sent me a box of goodies. And in it, I mean, like, of course, I cried when I opened the box. There was like sparkly syrup, which every time I pour it, I put in my coffee. Side note, is really, really good, even in decaf. And there was this bag of granola, and I was just like, what is this? And this granola is so freaking good. Okay. It is like delicious. It's chocolate. I think it says superfood on there. So I always feel like I'm doing something healthy
It is.
and good
It
for
is.
myself.
It's all those things.
It's so damn good. You do need to let it soak for a while in the oat milk to get a little bit softer.
It
It's
is
so
hard.
damn good. Yeah. And then you sent me another bag of this because I had been like, God, that granola is so good. Then I get another bag of it. And I'm just like, oh my God, this granola is so good. And I know that you like very bougie stuff. So I always think this granola, it's out of my league. I only get it from Sybil because it's so special. Then I'm on Vitacost like last week, and I realized that this bag of granola is $5. You could have told me it was $5,000 and I would have believed you. Like, that's how valued and special it made me feel. And I, just getting it, like the whole freaking situation.
True.
So what something is of value to you, right, is pretty irrelevant as to what your client values or what the other person values. And so I think we really have to get to a place where we can kind of like cleave the two,
Yes.
right? Of like my time and my value, they're not the same thing.
Right. And what it's like worth to somebody. And that is actually value. So one of the things about this granola story that's important is, one, we have talked before about, are you doing the right things for the people in your life, right? Mm-hmm. Your clients, the person who like changes the filters in your building, the front desk reception, all those people. This is the same kind of thing. The idea that you are telling them, I value you. Mm-hmm. I thought about you at this time. I knew you were having a hard time. I wanted to thank you. I value what you do. And it's not always the price of that thing. It's that you listen to them. You know what they like. You thought about them. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. This is what the value is. So yes, I remember the coffee orders of every single person I've ever picked up coffee for, because when I bring them a coffee, I'm like, it was right for you. And they're like, oh my God, thank you. Mm-hmm. You know the taste of the people around you if you can. Mm-hmm. And this helps the people around you value you back. Yeah.
It's so true. Yeah. You set the tone. Yes. And I think, even with our clients, that sometimes we set the tone in a way that maybe reflects our self-worth, yes. Which we can artificially inflate by asking for more, right?
Right. Exactly. So you can say, I'm worth a ton of money, but if that person doesn't see you as worth a ton of money, then that's more difficult. And then you have to see yourself as worth whatever you are getting. You have to be worth that in your own heart as well.
Yeah.
God, this is very deep today.
One strategy I have sort of adopted with this is every time an opportunity comes my way, I ask my friends, what are they charging? And then throw that number out there, maybe add on a little bit extra. And then the person says yes. And then you go, oh,
I could have asked for more, actually.
And then the next time that opportunity comes your way, ask for more. And I think that's, an easy place to gradually start to increase your confidence and increase, your confidence in what a badass you are in an incremental way that's like not as intimidating.
Yes. And I want to put out there, so I just recently had the thing. Now, you all know I talk about this all the time, that you should be raising your prices. First thing I tell people, I don't care who you are. I don't care what you're doing. It probably met me and I'd be like, oh, so you should be raising your prices? Mm-hmm. Because that's the conversation. I was just talking to my CFO who was essentially like, so you're all the way busy. So you're completely booked with a wait list when you're in your LA office. I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. And she's like, so you should raise your prices. And I was like, wait, what? No, I already charge so much money. Like I charge so much more money than industry standard. There's no way I should be raising my prices. And then I stopped myself and I'm like, what would Sybil say to Sybil right now? She'd be like, shut the hell up.
Raise your prices.
You should be raising your prices. So it's important to remember that sometimes we need somebody to look outside. So when Alex was like, I asked my friends, We are the worst judge sometimes of what our value is, what our worth is.
Trash.
We're the worst.
Yeah.
Even me, who I have a ton of confidence. I completely believe in that I'm amazing. There was that voice inside that's like, you can't do that. That's ridiculous. I would never have thought to raise my prices at this point if someone else hadn't looked at me and be like, you should be raising your prices.
Which also brings up another facet of this, which is what your clients value, right? And how they value you. Because the type of client who just like wants a facial for the sake of getting a facial and doesn't really care where they get it from, like that's not your client.
At least we hope that it's not your client. Dear listener, if you are listening to us, we hope at this point that this is not your client. And if it is, please move on.
Well, I'm saying, yeah, for you, Sybil, but yes. And then for those listening, right, how do we weed those people out is we start to raise the price. We start to offer a service that
is above and beyond what other people do.
Yeah.
Is something that only you can give. Understand that what you do, even if you say, but everybody does acne treatments. Do they do your acne treatments? Are they you?
No, they're not you. No. And even, like 2 years ago, I was trying to sell a service that wasn't a good match for myself. It wasn't a good match for my values. It wasn't a good match for what my clients were looking for. And I just remember, walking out of my office, getting off of yet another failed sales call. I did 54 of them, I think. And just saying to Anthony, like, I just want to work with people who are as nerdy, first of all, as I am, and who are as committed to it, right? Because I show up at 110%, and like, I don't want to work with people who don't show up with that same level of commitment. And I had a phone call this week with a prospective client who was that person, right? So I know that there's some fear too when we start to change stuff around, like, well, who am I to charge this? And that's going to be too much, and I don't know. But like, I just, not even from the other side, I'm not going to pretend like I have it figured out. I just want you to know, like, those people exist, and you just have to like dream them up and then start charging your worth. Cause like we've talked about as well, that like your pricing is a part of your brand too. And if you don't value what you're putting out into the world, there's no way that your clients are going to value it too. So it's a long story, but it goes both ways and it's possible.
Absolutely. So how do you think about the value of something? So Alex, when you're valuing something, when you're like, okay, whether it's valuing your prices, valuing a course that you're thinking about taking from someone else, what's the first thing you kind of do? What goes on in your head?
Well, I actually signed up for a course before we started recording. I always think about, well, again, I go to my committee. Right? My committee of the people I trust, my business besties. Of course, if I'm investing money, I talk to my husband. Hey, what do you think about this? Which also just LOL about that because he is not in the online business world. So when I'm like, yeah, the course is like $1,000. He's like, oh my God, that's so much money. And I'm like, no, actually, like that's really cheap. That's really not expensive.
That's a great value in my mind.
Right. And now I'm like, it's fine. We'll be fine. The biggest thing, and you asked me this question too, is like, well, what are you going to get out of it? Right. Yes. And then I think about, for this course in particular, it's a course about cultivating community, which I wouldn't necessarily be interested in per se, but I run a paid community. And the person leading this course has been working with one of the leaders in the industry whom I've studied with, and has also seen inside and spoken to other leaders in the industry who are also running membership businesses. So for me, the value is not necessarily like, okay, what are the nitty gritty of what I'm going to get, but also who else is going to come to the table. Yeah. Right. Because sometimes those people who come to the table, like that's how we met. Right. Absolutely. We went to an anatomy thing and like you were drawn to that too. And now I'm standing across a cadaver and I'm like, boom, that's a person who shares my interests, who shares my value. Right. You value education. Yep. You would throw money down to go look at cadavers. Like, that to me is all worth it. So those are kind of the things I'm thinking about.
Absolutely. And so that is where I always start. So when I know what I'm thinking about, what I'm going to do, how I'm going to value something in my life, I think, first of all, how is this going to benefit me? I'm like, how is this thing, what is it going to do for me? And this is, once again, when we talk about copy, we talk about people buying stuff from you, it's what are the benefits and what is it going to give me? I don't ever look at things like, oh my God, I'm really going to learn how to use my computer today. And they're going to talk to me about my keys. No, they're going to be like, this is what you're doing. So they don't talk to me about the ingredients.
No.
They don't give a bunch of flashy names. They tell me what the benefits are for me and what I'm going to get out of it. And so I look at those things to myself, and then I value it based on where I am in my career and how I will utilize this. Because sometimes you'll place value on something and be like, I know that this is good, but I'm not going to use it yet. Like, I'm just not there yet. And we've both been in this times where we'll be like, or I'm beyond that. That sounds great, but actually, do I need that anymore?
That's me in every
Am I
course.
beyond that? Yeah. Am I beyond this thing? So we often will fall into this like FOMO of like what we should be doing. Like, oh, I'm not going to miss it and whatever. Trust me, there's virtually never any missing out when it comes to education or something that's out there. You'll probably have that opportunity again.
Yeah. It just like made me think of like light bulbs and fireworks are going off over here. Knowing your own values and the things that you value allow you to make those decisions like so much more easily. So like I do value education, but I'm also a self-starter, a self-learner. Like I know a lot of stuff about a lot of stuff, but experiences is definitely something I value. And so when we're talking about courses, I remember another course I brought to you and it was purely just education. And you were like, do you really need to know this? And I was like, no, I kind of already know it. Whereas this other course that I just invested in is more about the experience.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so when you talked to me about that particular course, I was like, so this is actually to give you something beyond just the education. Because in my mind, you might not need the information that's in there.
Correct.
So one of the examples that I use all the time is I go to courses all the time that I'm like, I know this. I could probably teach this course. But even if I get one new thing out of it, it was worth it. And also, I want to see the peers. I want to meet the peers who also feel that this is an important place to be. Because especially in my industry, it's hard to meet people who are as educated, who care as much, who are driven, and somebody who's ready to throw down their money and come to a course that's $2,800 for 2 days. Those are my kind of people.
I mean, amen. Like,
yes.
That's so true. Like, I think too of like my closest friends are people who we met over some, mutual interest in something. And then you're like, cool, you're my people because this is also important to you.
Right. And so sometimes I value things based on what that experience is going to give me, not what I'm actually going to like get out of it. So there's a difference between I'm being given something like new people, contacts, excitement. Maybe it's just going to spark interest in our brain. We've had that conversation where sometimes you just get bored and you need to have sparks of interest. And being around other people and having somebody else educate you or being at a conference where there's a lot of people talking about fun things and different things, it just sparks creativity and joy.
And also, I want to add, this doesn't always have to be like business only, right? Nope. I know as like for things that spark joy, right? Me getting to a beach and like listening to the waves and like sitting in the sand and like that's important for me to feel recharged. So there, like while we're talking about it with this lens towards business, right? What you value is applicable to life experiences, to business experiences, to all of the above. And that's where too, I think sometimes we think like, well, this is my life box and this is my business box. And the two aren't mutually exclusive. And like, there's so much overlap between the two, and where you feel the most friction is usually because you're trying to keep them separated.
Absolutely. So I value travel very highly because one thing, it feeds me. It's what gives me my creative boost. It also is that thing that allows me to discover new ideas. So I'll be somewhere and I'll be like, I mean, maybe I didn't go into that spot, but that's some beautiful marketing right there, or this feeling right here is a feeling I want to capture and bring that as an experience into my treatment room. And there's something we forget is that it is hard as entrepreneurs and solopreneurs to separate our business from ourselves. It is a hard thing. So everything that you do that gives your life value and you can value is going to end up probably back in your business regardless.
Yeah, because the true clients who are like your diehards, your evangelists who are going to be with you, like they're there because you're you, not just because you offer a service. Because if that were the case, like they would literally go anywhere else. And I can think already of like different service providers I'm working with where I'm like, I'm going to quit you.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, there are people I will drive across town. If you're from LA, I will get on the 405 and drive to the west side
Oh my
from the
God.
valley. Okay. And then spend $255 an hour because I value the expertise that you bring and know the importance of having somebody outside yourself to be your eyes.
Yeah.
So, really, pull out your pen and paper,
Oh
get
my
your
God,
journal
we're
going
gonna be
on.
journaling.
And just, what do I value? What's important to me? And where do I feel like, what am I missing? Where do I feel out of balance of what I know my values to be? That's not happening in my personal life or my professional.
And I would add to that one of the things to help you value yourself in whether it's your business or your personal life is to write down what makes you unique, special, and amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead and put anything down. It could be like my second toe is longer than my first toe. Like whatever. What makes you unique? What makes you a unicorn? What would other people say about you that makes you a unicorn? And then you write that stuff down and you embrace it. And you don't say, but no, it just is.
Mm-hmm.
It is just the truth. And then you sit and you hold on to it. And at your worst times when you're undervaluing yourself or you're thinking horrible thoughts about yourself, you just go, no, here's my list of what makes me a unicorn.
Mm-hmm. I mean, definitely like screenshot that stuff. I do have a folder on my phone that I always forget to look at when I'm like feeling down, but I save all of it of like text messages and comments on social media and, all that kind of stuff because like you need it when you need a boost. And I know that people are giving you this feedback and you might be missing it. So take a screenshot and like pull it up when you need it.
Also accept it when people give it to you. So I know a lot of times like I'll be in a treatment room and somebody will be like, Sybil, you made me feel amazing today. And I'll be like, okay, thanks. But no, feel that.
Mm-hmm. I received
Hold it
that.
inside and allow it to be.
Yeah.
We're so bad at taking compliments. We're not trained on how to take compliments. We're not trained on taking like love and support, but we'll 100% hold on to negative comments for life.
Nah, no comment.
For life. And as soon as I said that, you thought of one. You're like, oh yes.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
So, but if I was to say what makes you amazing, where you're like, I have to sit down and really think about that, but you shouldn't because everybody's already told you. Everybody's already told you why you're amazing and you've changed their lives and you're helping everyone out and you're doing the thing that needs to be done that is hopefully pushing you towards bigger and better goals.
And we've also shared so many different techniques to like baby step. So if you're feeling like, oh my God, this is like way too much, right? Maybe it's just starting to say, thank you. I really feel that, or I'm really receiving that to the compliments you're getting. Maybe it's incrementally charging tiny bit more to like the next client or a little bit more to your services and your menu or whatever it is. Like take those baby steps because every single one of those baby steps is leading you closer to where you want to be and how you want to feel about your business. And again, I tell you, it is possible. I promise you.
Yeah. And I'm going to finish here with value isn't always about money.
No.
It's not always. It's not always about money. It's often the things that people do around you. So I always say, what was the best gift that you ever got?
Granola.
Granola, right? What was the best gift you ever got? Like for me, it was a striptease from a client. Like I was like, this is amazing. To this day, I'm like, it's the best gift I was ever given. Like
that's awesome.
Because they thought about who I was. They thought this is going to give her so much joy. And I was with this person on the journey that they took through the entire year where they took the courses to learn how to do this. So that I was a receiver of this, a special striptease was incredible.
Yeah.
There's no price on that.
Or even like, A friend sent me like $5 on Venmo one day to buy a coffee. And I like was just like, oh my God, this is like the most amazing $5 ever. Right. It is like money is energy and value, you know, and the value of it is not monetary. Like they're not one and the same.
Nope.
So for sure, I think that's like really great. And like, let us know too, because I'm super curious about what that special thing was and how it made you feel. Because in, you know, going through this history for yourself, like this is how you're going to help to uncover and figure out what is important to you and what your values are.
Snaps to that.
Hit us up on Instagram. The show is at Skinfessional. You can find Sybil at Skin Fitness Expert. I am at Hala for Mala, or you can give us a call on our voicemail box.
Which is 818-473-5277. And we have an email address now. Oh my God. We haven't got an email yet, so you could be the first. We have an email address. What is that email address, Alex?
It is skinfessionalpod@gmail.com. And if you don't know how to spell that, literally pick up your phone and look at the device and it will have Skinfessional written there for you. Just add a POD and then @gmail.com. That's it. It's so easy. You can do it. I believe.
I believe you can too. So until next week,
keep your secrets to yourself.
Unless you're telling us.
Okay, bye.